And welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. My guests this evening are Cynthia Clegg from Community Foundation Middlesex County and John Farrar from Literacy Volunteers Valley Shore. Guys, welcome. How are we tonight?
Thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful.
Good.
Thank you for having us.
No problem. Thanks for coming down. So, Cynthia, what is Community Foundation Middlesex County and who is Cynthia Clegg?
Cynthia Clegg lives in Essex, and I've been with the Community Foundation of Middlesex County. I can't believe I'm going to say this, for 9 years, July 1. That has flown by. It has absolutely flown by. But enough about me. I think what we should spend our time talking about is the Community Foundation, because the Community Foundation is really a resource for this entire community. It's a resource for the donors. It's a resource for the nonprofits.
Yes.
It's a resource for the entire community. And we work with the donors very carefully and invest their dollars and set up funds and invest their dollars, and then we reinvest through grants out into the community to such worthy nonprofits such as Literacy Volunteers. And I'm happy to say that we have been a proud grantor of the Literacy Volunteers Valley Shore for a number of years, going way, way back. And really are very proud of the work that you do and very proud of what you accomplish on very little dollars, I might add. And so I'm going to put a shout out to everybody in the audience that you need to remember the small nonprofits and remember what they do on a shoestring and the benefits that they provide for the community.
Exactly. And John Farrar is the Executive Director of Literacy Volunteers Valley Shore. Last time I checked,
That's still the case.
Is that still the case? All right.
At least until tomorrow night's board meeting.
All right.
But it has been 4 years for me, almost 5.
Wow.
And it's hard to believe it's been that amount of time. But it's through the good graces and partnership of organizations like the Community Foundation for Middlesex County that we've been able to do our work. And not only are they a source of funds, but they lend us credibility so that volunteers coming and seeing that we're associated with an organization that does so much good in Middlesex County makes us that more credible, that more legitimate in their eyes. Plus the support the financial support that we receive for programs like our tutor training programs. We began a Rosetta Stone program to onboard students who were maybe waiting for a tutor and still needed instruction through a direct grant from CFMC. And those are the kinds of programs that wouldn't happen without that kind of support. So we've been very fortunate to have that partnership over the years.
And you know, John used a term that we use all the time at the Community Foundation, and our theme this year, and it has been every year, the power of partnerships. Because I think that what we try to instill in everybody is that we can't do everything alone, and it really, if everybody pulls their resources, pools their talents, a lot more can be done. And I mean, I just look at what you do with the tutors, with the grants that we give, and really, I was astounded by the number of students that you have impacted through the grants that we've given. So remind me how many that's been.
Well, in the last couple of years, the last cycle, really, the last 2-3 year cycle, just looking at the grants alone, it's been well over 200 students.
That's amazing.
That is.
That's just absolutely amazing. So, you know, I always, don't take this the wrong way, but I'm a name caller in the kindest way. So I tell our donors that they're safety net providers, that they're teachers, that they've taught adults and children to read. And so those kind of terms, you really get the idea of what those grants do.
Right, exactly. And as far as, let's talk about the grant application, the grant process, shall we say.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask John, is it easy to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How easy is it?
You know, there are a lot of grants that you apply for that require a lot of different elements to it.
Okay.
And one of the things that is so refreshing about the Community Foundation for Middlesex County's grant application is it's straightforward. They want to know about the program. They want to know about the potential impacts. They want you to highlight your outcomes. But there's really not much more to it than that.
We tried so hard to simplify the process, and you'll hear this name over and over again because she's so good. We have such a wonderful staff, but Thayer Talbot, who's the head of our grants and programs, really worked very hard and investigated so many other community foundations' grant processes to make sure that we were simplifying it. We know you don't have a lot of time, and what we really want to do is have you focus on the programs, and that's our attitude. We're not here to make it difficult, but we're trying to provide the knowledge to our grants committee so that they can make educated and solid decisions about to whom to give the grants. And believe it or not, it's tough to give money away. It really is. Because, well, look at literacy volunteers, and if you multiply that out by 100 other organizations that apply to us, you want to give everyone the money. And yes, we will get to the point where we'll be able to do that, but not just yet. And so we have to make tough decisions.
It's a difficult process, and especially in this day and age when state funding has become such an uncertain thing. The grants have really become kind of the lifeblood year to year of organizations, especially small nonprofits. So we really spend a lot of time in developing them. There are some grantors who will tell you, you need to take 8 months to a year to dope out your programs and to put that together in a grant application. That's a lot of time, especially for organizations that only have part-time or volunteer staff.
And then that's exactly the way, why we wanted it streamlined. But before I go into the grants process, because it really is very simple, and we do everything we possibly can to educate, the grantees or the nonprofits about how to do it so that there are no surprises. But one of the other things that we do, especially in this time of no funding from the state or federal government, is provide free workshops for the nonprofits on fundraising, on professional development, so that that's another resource so that we understand what you're going through. So we try to do that. But the grants process is really easy. We will have 3 information sessions starting in a couple of weeks. They will be posted on our website.
Excellent.
Those information sessions are, here it is, A to Z. Ask all the questions that you want. In a month, we will then post the grant application online. And then it is due in mid-September.
All right.
That's it. You can call, you can write, you can email Thayer and ask any question you want about the grant application.
Now, once you decide, who decides who gets what grant for what amount of money, and then how is the money doled out to the organizations?
The residents of Middlesex County, our volunteers, decide how the grants will be distributed. Staff is there for guidance. We are there to provide information about the nonprofits. We are there to answer any questions they might have about a particular nonprofit and the programs that they do, but we don't make the decisions. It's our volunteers, and they really put their heart and soul into it.
Now, and John and Cynthia, this question's for you both. As far as the state of Connecticut, which is pretty in dire straits for money, and as far as a nonprofit goes, most of them, there's little bit of money for nonprofits in the state. I'm sure are you guys affected by all the budget cuts and all the money and the surplus going on with the state of Connecticut?
Fortunately, our organization doesn't rely on state funding. Although, having said that, there are other organizations that we work with that are, and other educational organizations like ERASE, the East Shore Region Adult Cooperative Education Program, is impacted by that. And as a result, we'll start to see more of their students come to us because they can't handle as many classes. They won't be able to employ as many teachers. So, from kind of the back door, we will start to see more students and more need than we have in previous years because of that lack of funding.
And one of the things that we do, Pete, is that we will host what we call listening forums where the nonprofits can come and talk about the issues that are facing them. And the last one had people walking out the door going, you have a graphic designer, you do marketing, can I borrow? And so looking for very creative ways about how they can do as much with less funding, but how can they, the power of partnership, how can they partner? And how can they take advantage of what another nonprofit may have?
Exactly.
So that's what we encourage.
And what else do you encourage as far as working together with a nonprofit?
We encourage people to look for ways, look for other organizations who are doing maybe the same kind of thing that they're doing, to say, is there a way that we can do programs together? We encourage people, consortiums. There is a current consortium on mental health or mental wellness going on, so not everybody has to do everything alone. They can do it together, and all with the same goal of getting the message out.
That's one of the things that CFMC has been very effective at the last 3 or 4 years, I think, is increasing the number of opportunities for networking among the nonprofits in the area. And I think it really has paid dividends, especially in the sharing of resources, which we might not have known were available to us had we not had those opportunities.
And the other thing we do is we just tell the nonprofits, I think the nonprofits know that we're a partner. And so pick up the phone and call us and tell us what's going on. Tell us what your issues are. And then maybe somewhere in the back of our mind, we will remember a conversation with another nonprofit, and we can put 2 and 2 together, and that makes 5. How's that for my creative math?
Yeah, that works.
Does that work? I wish it did for the grant money, but 2 and 2.
2 and 2
not
makes
yet.
5. No, not yet. Soon though.
Not yet.
Before we go into the break, is there anything else that you guys would like to add?
No. When we come back from the break, though, I want to talk about the volunteers who really put their heart and soul into deciding where the grant should go.
All right. Would you guys mind sticking around for another segment?
Absolutely.
We'll
Thank
be right
you so
back.
much.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
Don't worry, the 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft.
To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.
And welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. Sitting here with Cynthia Clegg from Community Foundation Middlesex County and John Farrar from Literacy Volunteers Valley Shore. Guys, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Thanks for sticking around. So, Cynthia, what would we like to open this segment about?
We talked about the power of partnership, and all nonprofits know that the power really comes from the volunteers, because most nonprofits, all nonprofits I should say, they're idea-rich and resource-poor in terms of staffing. So we never have enough staff to do all of the wonderful things that we'd love to do. So we're so fortunate to have great hearted people in Middlesex County who really, really care and really get that if they have a couple of hours to spare or a couple of dollars to spare, that it will improve the lives of everybody. So before we talked about how the grants are decided upon.
Yeah.
And that, we have volunteers, 12 of them to be exact, who come from all different walks of life, who come from all over Middlesex County, various experiences. They read the 100 applications that come in, and then they come together for some pretty intense conversations. They'll score what they think on their own, submit the scores, we average them, but then they sit down and they really discuss almost each and every single one so that everybody can hear the perspective of their fellow committee members. And we have other volunteers who do a lot of great stuff, but I know that literacy volunteers wouldn't be what it is it's right in your name. So right there, people are learning to read because their friends and neighbors in the community really care about what you do.
It really is remarkable. You know, we've had so many volunteers over the course of the 37 years that we've been in business, and it's a constant source of inspiration to me. To see how many people are willing to come forward and give up 2, 4, 6 hours a week doing tutoring or working at the bookstore that we have that also provides us with some funds, or to work on fundraisers. And the thing that we constantly hear is that they realize that they're part of something bigger. That our affiliations are so important to our credibility that they wouldn't have picked us if there wasn't that backing from community organizations like CFMC. So it really is important to have that backing, to have that community built around you, so that there is that credibility. But given that, you know, we one of the things that we just celebrated was our student achievements, and as a part of that, it's really interesting because one of the people that had a student who was one of the most successful this particular year came to us because of a reference from your organization.
Oh, good. But he's being so modest because the volunteers are really great, but it's the staff that really sort of leads the way and gets the volunteers engaged and takes the passion of each particular volunteer and helps them learn how they can make a difference. Because a lot of people think, if I just sit and I'm helping somebody learn how to read, I'm a nobody. But the staff really makes sure that they understand that they are what I would say the grand poobah of things going on in the community.
We provide the resources, and that's
and you do it very well.
That's important. Well, thank you.
You do. And what people don't know about literacy volunteers is they have a very small
staff. That's a good way to describe it.
I was going to say.
Minuscule at times, yeah.
Small staff, pretty good sized board of directors, but everybody's in for it for the community, and everybody's in for it to get the word spread out on the organization. And
the volunteers really are the people who drive our organizations, and without them, we wouldn't exist.
Right.
We wouldn't have anything to drive. So it's been a labor of love for us, but more so for our volunteers. I was telling Cynthia before, during the time that we have been in existence, during our charter, we've had almost 12,000 volunteer tutors.
Isn't that amazing?
oh my God.
It's just really amazing.
Holy cow.
That's dedication from the community.
Well, dedication, and I know some of your volunteers, and they will tell me that they get more out of it than they put in, and so that's really just so amazing.
Exactly.
You can't pay for that.
No, you can't. There's not enough money.
Well, you're a good volunteer too.
I am. I'm actually on the board of directors for this fine organization, and I know the work that we do. And
so thank you for doing that.
oh, not a problem. Thank you guys for supporting us as an organization
Well,
and us
and-
as a whole.
If it's all right, I'll just do a shout out,
Yeah, go
not
for
to
it.
take anything away from literacy volunteers.
All right.
But if the nonprofits in the audience are really interested in, and if we don't know about you, we really want to know about you. But please feel free to call us at the Community Foundation or go to our website, which is middlesexcountycf.org, or call 860-347-0025 and get on our mailing list, get on our email distribution list,
Right.
so then you will have an opportunity to perhaps get a grant from us, because we're here as a resource for the nonprofits.
How many nonprofits do you guys work with?
A whole
Roughly.
lot. There
bad.
are
All right.
there are over 700 nonprofits in Middlesex County if you include some of the faith-based. So
Oh my
there are a number of
goodness.
them.
Wow.
We don't work with all of
Okay.
them, but we generally, during our competitive grants process, will get anywhere from 90 to 110 applications.
Wow.
And one of the rules of our rules of engagement for grants is that if you get a grant 3 years in a row, you
Yeah.
need to take a year off so others have an opportunity to get a grant.
That was actually going to be my next question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a waiting period? But you just answered that, so.
There is, but and I'll just tell you why we did it
Sure,
too, because we provide the free training, we really felt that that was a resource for folks to learn how to fundraise and not be dependent upon the community foundation.
Right.
And that doesn't mean we're not there as a resource on that off year, because we are.
One of the things that I'd just like to kind of back that up
Sure.
with is to say that in any organization, you're looking for the sustainability of programs and operations. And what the year off, that year hiatus from a grant application does for us is make us focus on being sure that our programs are built for sustainability. But one of the other things that I think is important, not just about the grant program, but about the atmosphere that CFMC and organizations like it create, is that feeling of community among the nonprofits, and that's been such an important addition. So there's financial resources, and those are important, but creating the community and building that atmosphere where there are synergies that are created is just as important.
And we call our staff we call ourselves the Nosy Community Foundation aunties. And we only say that in the nicest way, because our role is to know just about everything we can about what's going on in the community.
Right.
Not only the issues, but the nonprofits. If there is a nonprofit having some difficulties for whatever reason, we generally know about that. And so we usually get a phone call, but sometimes we pick up the phone and go, how can we help you? We've heard this. Is this true? Can we be a resource? Come on in, let's sit down and talk. Let's see what we have. And we have our board members who are very willing to use their expertise to help out if there's an issue. So I'm very, very fortunate with the board that I have, and I know John feels the same about his board. But the board members are our volunteers at the next level. They really, really give, and they really care.
Exactly. John, is there something you'd like to add?
No, I couldn't say it better than that.
Well,
That's it is so important to have that support, and we look at ourselves as a team. It really is a blessing to have a board and volunteers that buy into the mission and do everything they can to support.
The other thing that we do, and oftentimes nonprofits will call us and ask if we know of any people who are potential board members for them, for that organization. Again, people come and talk to us. They know we're nosy, so they will just come and talk to us and sort of say, this is what I absolutely love. Maybe the community foundation isn't the right place for them, but then we can turn around and say, well, literacy volunteers or
Exactly.
XYZ organization.
Exactly. Now, one thing we didn't talk about, what is the mission statement for Community Foundation Middlesex County?
To improve the quality of life for all in Middlesex County by investing donors' dollars right back into the community. I know that's not verbatim, so
That's okay.
if anybody's got it on the website, it's not verbatim.
All right.
But it's
John, what's the mission statement for literacy volunteers?
To improve the English for community or Valley Shore residents
All right.
in their life and work skills.
All right. And what else would we like to tell our viewers and our listeners within the little bit of time we have left?
I want people to think about the nonprofits in the following way.
Okay.
You don't have a community without nonprofits. If you think about it, the nonprofits really are there for the community. They teach our folks to read. They're the libraries.
Yeah.
They're the ones who provide the arts. They're the ones who maintain the history. They're the ones who preserve the land for the future. So without the nonprofits doing those kinds of things, it would be a pretty boring, dull community.
Exactly.
And we happen to live, I think, in the best community ever. So hats off to the nonprofits, and thank you for the good work that you do.
And John, what would you like to add?
Well, I'd just like to emphasize the impact that nonprofits bring to the communities. Through their efforts, they take people who are on the who are not on the tax rolls, who are on the social services rolls, and bring them onto the tax rolls. They take people who have difficulty assimilating into the community, who might not have the financial background and are able to open a checking account, invest in the community. They take people who are having a difficult time getting driver's licenses and understanding doctor's prescriptions, and help them to navigate those systems successfully. So there's a tremendous impact, and it's not just about learning to read. It's the assistance that comes from these nonprofits that makes such a difference in their lives and in the lives of their communities.
All right, John Ferrari and Cynthia Clegg, thanks for joining me, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Have a good night.